Hi there, my name's Kidz and welcome to God's Great Story. Today we're going to have a story from the Jesus Storybook Bible by Sally Lloyd-Jones. But first, do you remember the remember verse from last time? It's from Genesis chapter 50, verse 20, and it says, "You plan to harm me, but God planned it for good." How did you go? Did you remember it? Well done. Well, do you know what time it is now? Yeah, it's time to check the glitzy bag. I wonder what's in the bag today. All right, so let's take a look and see what's inside the glitzy bag. Oh, there's some interesting things poking out the top. I wonder what's in there. Let's have a look. Ooh, some fluff. So soft, and it's nice and cuddly too. Wonder what that's about. Oh, some fire, some flames. Lots of different colours there, isn't there? Oh, this one's a bit interesting. Oh, looks a little bit like water, don't you think? My flames are on the move. Oh, everything's moving. And there's one last thing. Do you remember what the last thing is that we get? It's our heart. All right. Well, let's have a look at today's story. When you're ready, why don't you tap your nose and get a comfy spot and we'll get started. So today's story is a long time after Joseph and his family had come to Egypt. And God's people were working for a person called Pharaoh. But Pharaoh, he didn't like God's people very much and he didn't treat them nicely. But God had a plan. He was going to use someone special, and his name is Moses. So we're going to hear about that today, how God used Moses. Are you ready? All right, let's get started. God makes a way. Moses and God's people escaped out of Egypt and into the wilderness. They didn't know the way, but God knew the way, and he would show them. "I will bring you to a new home, a special land," God promised them. "I will look after you. I am with you." God sent a big cloud for them to follow, a pillar of smoke stretching up to the sky. It moved in front of them as they walked and shaded them from the blazing heat of the day. And when it was night time to rest, it stopped. All through the cold desert nights, it kept them warm, glowing like fire. God led his people through the desert to the edge of a great sea. They were just wondering how to cross it when suddenly they heard a terrible thundering and pounding. It sounded almost like horses' hooves. They shaded their eyes to look back and screamed. It was Pharaoh and his army were coming to get them. Pharaoh had changed his mind again. "Get my slaves back," he screeched, and charged out into the desert after them with 600 of his fastest horsemen and every single chariot in Egypt. What were God's people going to do? In front of them was a big sea. It was so big there was no way around it, but there was no way through it. It was too deep. They didn't have any boats, so they couldn't sail across, and they couldn't swim across because it was too far, and they would drown, and they couldn't turn back because Pharaoh was chasing them. They could see the flashing swords now, glinting in the baking sun, and the dust clouds and chariot after scary chariot surging towards them. So they did the only thing there was left to do and panic! "We're going to die," they shrieked. "Don't be afraid," Moses said. "But there's nothing we can do," they screamed. God knows You can't do anything. Moses said, God will do it for you. Trust him and watch. But there's no way out, they cried. God will make a way, Moses said. Another minute and it would have been over. But the strangest thing happened. God made the pillar of smoke moved. It moved behind his people and hid them from the Egyptians. Then God sent a strong east wind to blow all night long. It blew on the water of the big sea. It blew to the left and it blew to the right until it blew into the towering walls of water. And there, right through the middle of the sea, a muddy pathway opened up, and God's people walked across on dry land. When the Egyptians tried to follow, the walls of water crashed back down on them and swallowed them up. God's people were safe. They danced and laughed and sang and thanked God. When there had been no way out, God had made a way. Many years later, once again, God was going to make a way where there was no way. From the beginning, God's children had been running from him and hiding. God knew his children could never be happy without him, but they couldn't get back to him by themselves. They were lost. They didn't know the way back. But God knew the way, and one day he would show them. Wow! How amazing was that? God separated the water so his people could escape. God always has a plan, doesn't he? We just need to trust him. All right, let's have a look at our items from our glitzy bag. All right, do you remember about the big pillar of smoke that helped lead the people? The cloud, wasn't it? It shielded them during the day from the hot sun. And then of a night time, there was some fire that helped keep them warm. And then we had the amazing part of the story was the sea that separated. And the people walked across on dry land, didn't they? That's amazing, that story. And then there's God's love for his people. That no matter what, he loves his people and he always provides a way for them to come back to him. Okay. Are you ready for today's memory verse? All right, you might need to warm up your hands. Get ready. Our memory verse today is from Psalm 48:14. And this is what it says. Our God forever, who guides us till the end of time. Should we try that again? Our God forever, who guides us till the end of time. Why don't you give it a go? Our God forever, who guides us till the end of time. How did you go? You did well? Excellent. Well, that's it for today, and I hope you'll join me next time for God's great story. Bye.